Okay. Wow, I really am not liking this camera and the way this is showing up. Um, okay. I did not get a chance to announce this live stream in advance to my list. So, wow. I hope you guys can see me because from my point of view here, everything just looks purple with this camera. So that's a little bit better. I'm not sure if you can see this or not. Anyhow, this is my very first live stream in a very long time. So I'm still trying to figure out how to do this. And as you can see, the lighting leaves a lot to be desired. But I'm not going for perfection anymore. I'm going for how about just show up. And so I'm showing up for you today. And the title of this live stream is Create Your Soulmate. 3 steps to creating soulmate, not woundmate love. Okay, so I am intending to do this as a weekly thing. So for those of you who are subscribed to this channel, or if you just happened upon this, you might want to go ahead and subscribe to my channel, because then you will automatically, if you hit the bell at the where the subscribe button is, there's a little bell, and if you hit that bell, every single week you will be notified when I'm going to be doing a live stream. So, so this is going to be an experience for today, because I have no idea how this is going to come out. But I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. And for the next time, I hope to give you a little bit more notice that I'm doing this, because I just scheduled this today. So for the future, just know that I will be doing this on Thursdays, 5 p.m. Eastern. And you are very welcome to send me any questions that you might have. So first of all, if you don't know me yet, my name is Dawn Priolet, and I'll tell you a little bit about my background and how and why I ended up actually being a relationship coach. So I, like many of you, have had a not so wonderful childhood, raised by narcissistic parents. And usually when I describe my childhood, in fact, you know, I've actually had people say, oh, well, you must have had your parents must have been alcoholics. And that actually really wasn't the case. They just had a lot of emotional issues, as most humans do on this planet today. But if you are here and you've had issues with alcohol, an alcoholic parent, or both alcoholic parents, or some kind of aholic parent, then you know what it's like to basically have to grow up on your own, to grow up with very little or no kind of attention or supervision, because, you know, your parents just couldn't do it. They couldn't even handle their own life, never mind yours. And I also have 3 siblings who were in the house with me, and another one who was adopted out, who was the first one. So my point in bringing that up is that when you grow up in that kind of environment, you are going to have a tendency to attract certain kind of people. So let's get right into this. So the first principle that I wanted to talk about, and the first step that I want to talk about to creating a soulmate relationship, and this is for people who already have a relationship, or if you are actually looking to attract in a partner. The very first step, and this kind of comes from Jack Canfield's success principles. This is the Spanish version, Los Principios del Éxito, but in English it's success principles. So Jack Canfield, as well as anybody else in the field, will tell you that the very first thing that you need to do, and it doesn't matter if you are wanting to create a soulmate relationship or you're wanting to manifest a Mercedes, it actually makes no difference. You have to take responsibility for what is actually showing up in your life up to this point, which means you take responsibility for your emotions, your beliefs, everything about you. It's your responsibility. And that can be difficult sometimes because actually we're all born into what I would call the very first level of consciousness, which is basically a victim consciousness. As children, we, really feel like we have no control over anything and pretty much don't. Now, if we could be conscious, I guess, at a very young age, then we could. But as children, we are just simply being programmed by our environment, by our parents. And so we're just kind of taking it all in. Everything that's coming from our parents, their belief systems, all of that becomes our programs. And if you think about it, it's kind of like the hard drive on your computer, right? I mean, you have a hard drive already in place. And so if you try to, let's say you're watching Matthew Hussey, who was, he was one of my favorite relationship experts. But the thing is, a lot of the advice that he gives and things that he tells you to say, you should say this, text that. While it's very, very good advice, and I could see how a lot of it would work, the problem that I have, and that a problem that many women have, is that if you're just simply told, say this, say that, text this, text that, do this, don't do that, it's not going to feel really authentic, because just simply being given a script and saying, excuse me, let me get some water. Being given a script and being told, okay, say this, say that, don't say this, it's not going to feel authentic, right? Because your energy needs to be in alignment with your words, okay? So, as I said, step one is you need to take responsibility for everything that's showing up in your life, even with the programming that you already have. And that's, so along with that step, right, you need to decide, okay, what is it that I do want in a relationship? Well, for most of us, we already know what we don't want. So one of the things that I would recommend that you do is actually make a list first of what you don't want, because you already know that. You can look back at all your previous relationships and what happened, and you know what you liked and what you didn't like. So there were certain things that attracted you to him in the first place. So maybe you can start there. What was it? His sense of humor? Was he very kind to you? Was he very generous? Did he open the doors for you? What is it that you loved about this man in the beginning before things went bad? And write that down. So, because you want to keep attracting that. Wow, I really think something's wrong with my camera. I may have to get a new camera. Okay, so after you have written out what you did like, then you can write out, okay, what went wrong in the relationship? And write some of those things down. For example, he cheated on me. Well, that's pretty obvious, okay? So you write down, I don't want a man who cheats on me. Now, in the column next to that, you can write down, well, what do you want? I want a man who will honor me, cherish me, and be faithful to me. Okay? If you had a man who lied to you, couldn't trust him, what do you want? I want a man who is honest and someone I can put my faith and trust in. I want someone who tells the truth. You know, and just go through the list. And I actually do a process. Some of the people from my tribe have actually done this process with me, where I call it your love map. And it really goes a lot more into depth so that you can actually look at your history and how you actually got where you're at, and what are the feelings that you keep experiencing over and over and over again. Because, you know, really, with relationships, with money, with any kind of thing we're trying to manifest, what we really want is a feeling. That's what we're really going for. And so what you'll find is, if you really look at your past, let's say 3 to 5 relationships, for those of you that have been dating that are still single, if you look at those last 3 to 5 relationships and you really see what happened and see it not just, okay, he cheated on me, but look at the broader sense of what does cheating mean to you? So you could say, well, it's a betrayal, okay? Because not all betrayals are cheating, you see, but a betrayal is like the main theme. Because what I want you to notice is, what is the pattern? Is there a pattern of betrayal? Maybe one cheated on you, maybe another lied to you, or maybe another one, let's say you had a very private conversation and he went and behind your back and betrayed you by sharing information that you had an agreement that he was not supposed to do that. That is also a betrayal. So really look at the main theme. And then the other thing to look at is, how did that make you feel? Whatever he did, whether he cheated, he lied, he betrayed you, all of these things, how did that make you feel? And do this with every one of your past relationships, because what I want you to notice is, what are the feelings that you end up experiencing over and over and over again? And then the next thing I want you to ask yourself, and I want you to do this about each relationship, is there something that happened in your past, probably in your childhood, that this reminds you of? What does this situation remind you of? The feelings that you're now feeling. So if you're feeling betrayed, if you're feeling hurt, you're feeling sad, is there something from your childhood that this is reminding you of? Really important to get that. Because I tend to just say in general, and I know this to be true, you are never upset for the reason you think. And you probably would want to argue with me and say, no, I am upset because he cheated on me. But the thing that I want you to realize is that this pattern of betrayal started way before he ever came into your life. And if you look deeper, you will find where it actually started. And that's the part that has to be healed. There is a younger part of you, probably 4 or 5 years old, that is the one who is actually making the decisions in your love life. And that explains a lot, doesn't it? It's actually a 4 or 5 year old little girl that is making all the choices in your love life. And you may not believe that right now, and that's okay. But I'm telling you, that's what's actually going on. But don't believe anything I say right now. Try this out for yourself. So step 1, you're taking full responsibility for everything that's been showing up in your life. And so you want to find, what is it that I want by looking at the past and seeing what you don't want. Okay, so that's where we're at so far, right? I hope you're kind of keeping up with me here. And then write positive statements. I want a man who's honest, loyal, and faithful. Okay, just as an example. So you're taking responsibility for your life and everything that's showing up in it. Step 1, so you're creating that soulmate list. By the way, soulmate, you give that word all the meaning that it has for you, right? Nobody else can tell you what the word soulmate means. Only you know in your heart what that would mean to you. What does a soulmate look like to you? What would a soulmate relationship look like? It's up to you to decide. And that's in this first step. Now in step 2, I love, there's the poet Rumi. He is a Persian poet. And he says, it is not your task to seek for love, but rather to seek all the ways that you are blocking it. I'm paraphrasing. I think he says all the ways that you are guarding against it or whatever. But basically he's saying, it's not about seeking for love, but rather, seek to find and be conscious of all the ways that you are actually pushing love away. You're actually blocking it. You're guarding your heart. Because once you clear that out, it's going to naturally happen through law of attraction. So again, coming back to your programming as a child, one of the ways you can start to become aware of what the programming is about relationships, about men, simply write down on your piece of paper, men are what? Fill in the blank. And just take, I would set a timer, right? Set a timer for, 60 seconds. and just do a stream of, we call it stream of consciousness, but actually it's kind of a stream of unconsciousness. But it is a way to become conscious of, what do you actually believe about men? Another way to do it is, I recommend that you do it in different ways. Men are blank, and then you fill in that blank. Relationships are what? Um, and also, marriage means what? Write down all of your associations with marriage. What does that actually mean? Because so many of us are saying, yes, I want to get married. I want to meet my soulmate and I want to get married. And yet, in your subconscious mind, there's already a program running about what marriage means. And you need to find out what that is. Another way that you can find this out is to do an exercise where you actually pretend that you're going to sit your mom in front of you, and just pretend she's sitting right there, and pretend that she is going to give you relationship advice. She's going to tell you what she believes about men, relationships, marriage. And this is, don't underestimate how powerful this is, because here's the thing. Even though your mother may not have ever sat you down and said it to you, there are things that you picked up in your everyday life, just being around your mom. There are things that you picked up from her, that because you've never voiced it, because she never voiced it, no one ever voiced it, it's actually way more powerful, because it's just kind of going on in the background, and you're not even consciously aware that it's there. So pretend that your mom is sitting there and she's telling you. What would she say to you? Because if I were to just ask you, what kind of things did your mom say about relationships, or what did you pick up from your mother about relationships? What we tend to do is we tend to say, well, I don't actually believe that. Therefore, because you're conscious, the conscious part of your mind doesn't believe what your mother said, you misinterpret its power over you. In fact, you think it has no power over you, and it does. It does, because it's actually blocking you from allowing the man of your dreams into your life. I want to do actually a little exercise with you right now. Let's do that. So, let me get a drink of water. Okay. Take a deep breath. We're going to do a little visualization exercise. And this is going to help you to actually see some of your fears about relationships and beliefs, things that are blocking you. So just think about that person, your ideal soulmate, what you feel is a soulmate. Think of, 2 or 3 characteristics of that person. And I'd like you to close your eyes, if you would, because it's much easier to visualize if your eyes are closed. I'm just going to keep mine open while I'm describing this. So I'd like you to close your eyes, and I want you to put in front of you, just imagine whatever way you can. It may not be visual. Some people aren't visual, that's okay. But just feel like your soulmate is standing right there in front of you. And he's actually walking towards you. And I want you to just tune in to your body. What just happened in your body? Are there any thoughts popping up in your mind? Did you feel your energy just contract? What's coming up in your body? What are the thoughts that are coming up? Is there a fear that's coming up as he's walking right towards you? Right there, right in front of you. And then I'm going to take this a step further. Because, you may feel okay about it right now. You may think, oh, I feel fine. That's wonderful. He's right here. So I'd like you to go into the future, 3 months into the future, and just allow your subconscious mind to paint you a picture how things are with your soulmate 3 months down into the future. Are there any kind of fears coming up about what that might look like? Imagine yourself doing things together, situations that you're in together. Does he have an ex-girlfriend in the picture somewhere? How do you deal with these things? How do you have conversations about things that bother you? Can you imagine that? And then take another deep breath and imagine you with your soulmate 6 months into the future. Imagine yourself in a typical daily situation. Let your mind paint you the picture. And then maybe we can take this even further. Let's go into 1 year into the relationship. Are there things starting to come up? Are there, maybe some disagreements? Maybe everything isn't, how are you handling these things? And is this relationship going in the direction you want it to go? And just take another deep breath. Notice what's happening in your body. Do you feel tightness anywhere? Do you feel energy moving in any particular part of your body? Just notice. Take another deep breath. And when you're ready, just open your eyes. And I want you to really take note. What did you observe from doing that little visualization? What kind of fears came up for you? Because you're going to want to take note of this, because these are the kinds of things that are stopping you from actually having a soulmate in your life. And so it's really important to become aware of that. And so this is going to bring me right into step 3 of creating your soulmate relationship rather than your wound mate relationship. Because basically what I'm trying to help you see right now is where you have been creating a wound mate. I want you to see the patterns where you actually are drawing in what I call a wound mate. That is someone who basically has the negative characteristics of both of your parents. Because that's what we end up attracting. We actually attract partners who have both the negative and the positive characteristics of our parents. Now, if you had parents who you felt, absolutely adored you, absolutely no doubt in your mind that your parents loved you, adored you, the love was unconditional. Okay, if you had parents like that, most of us didn't, okay, because they're humans, right? But you'd be pretty good, and you probably wouldn't even be watching this right now, to be honest with you, because you'd probably be incredibly happily married, you know. But most of us didn't have that. Most of us had either a parent or parents who they felt ignored, abandoned, um, who really wasn't there for them. And so now in your adulthood, you find yourself being hopelessly attracted to partners who are going to make you feel just as ignored, unwanted, unvalued. In other words, partners that you feel like you have to chase after them all the time, right? Now, the other extreme, there's another extreme way that this can go. And depending on how you were raised, you may have had a parent who kind of smother loved you, a parent who was very, very emotionally needy, who, you felt like you had to always take care of that parent. And of course, for a young child, that's completely overwhelming, because both of these actually are examples of a break in the child-parent contract. They really are. Because both of them are very damaging. But, it's usually one or the other. Either you are attracted to people or partners who are absolutely not there for you, or you're attracting people who are overly needy or overly smothering. In other words, partners that you have to take care of. You have to constantly reassure them. Usually these two end up coming together. Okay? Because these are two different sides that most of us have. But this is where it comes from. It comes from your upbringing. So I want you to think about, what were the negative traits of your parents? Did they ignore you? Did they, when you cried, did they just leave you there crying? Did they often leave you alone to fend for yourself? Or did you have the opposite end of the spectrum? Did you have a parent who was too much in your life, too much overbearing, too needy? Because either way, you will attract those kinds of partners that have similar traits. In fact, those kind of people will be the sexiest people on the planet for you. And you've probably already noticed this, right? So then step 3 in this process will be, once you are more clear on what your pattern is, and what were your unmet needs as a child that you are now still seeking to meet in your adult romantic relationships. The next step is going to be, step 3 is going to be doing the work, the inner work, to clear these patterns, to clear the patterns of, I call them negative attraction patterns. So you're going to want to do the work, which involves you changing your energy. Now, as an energy healer, I use techniques with my clients, like emotional freedom technique, or it's also known as tapping. But I also use that along with the memories that you have. I call them representative memories. For example, if you had a parent who was very much not there for you, who ignored you, who abandoned you or made you feel abandoned, you can probably come up with, memories that are particularly painful. And so what we can do to help stop this pattern is we want to go back into the past to help heal that memory and heal that younger version of you that is now obsessed with reliving it over and over and over again, because you've probably already noticed you just keep recreating. It's like we keep going back to the scene of the crime, trying to figure out how and why did all of this happen? There's this part of your subconscious that just keeps recreating it. And so you keep being attracted to partners who are going to make you feel abandoned, rejected, unwanted, whatever it is that you felt with this particular parent, or may have been both of them actually. You will actually continuously recreate it, because our subconscious mind, its real job, its principal job, is to keep us safe. It's to keep us alive, actually. It's not about making you have your best life possible, but on a very primitive level, it is to keep us safe. That's its number one job, right? And so it's constantly scanning the horizons for any kind of unfamiliar, animal, or anything that could be construed as dangerous. In other words, something that is unfamiliar is dangerous. So this is why you're going to be continuously attracted to the same kind of person over and over again, because that's the devil, so to speak. And that to you is going to represent the familiar, what is safe to you. And even though you don't like it, because you've already come to the realization that this is not what you want, it is actually safer for you because it's what you know. It's what's familiar to you. And so oftentimes, I hear this from women a lot. Like, I don't know what it is. The guy is so nice. He's reasonably good looking. He's so nice. He treats me like a queen. I wish I was attracted to him. But for some reason, there's just no chemistry there. And it's because of this negative attraction pattern. And so we have to go back in time. And usually, if we work on about 5 or 6 specific memories, we can actually start, really break that pattern. And by break the pattern, I mean, quite simply, you will no longer be attracted to your type, whatever that is. It's an unavailable man that you're chasing after. After we go through and work on about 5 or 6 of these memories, you simply will no longer feel attracted to them. You will no longer have the chemistry, and you will finally be able to have a relationship with a man who actually is available for you and is emotionally healthy. Because, emotionally healthy people are attracted to emotionally healthy people. So by definition, if you still have this stuff from your past where you felt rejected and unwanted by your parents, you really have to be able to heal that, to really process the feelings, the sadness, the hurt, and the anger. Very, very important, because this is the one emotion that most of us never get to process. In fact, we are so taught that anger is like the one thing you cannot go there. And that's where we get this people pleasing pattern. Because we learned, no, instead of getting angry, I'm just going to take care of everybody. But if you actually could get in touch with that part of you, that anger, you would actually be able to start setting some healthy boundaries. Okay, so I've gone through the 3 steps. So step 1, you're taking responsibility, you're writing down and really making your soulmate list, your list of the qualities that you're looking for, and getting really clear about that. Step 2 was really looking at what programs you already have in place from your parents, from your upbringing. What are the actual attraction patterns, the negative attraction patterns that you have? So look at mom and dad. Were they available to you emotionally or unavailable? Did they love you unconditionally, or did you have to, in other words, look at what did you do as a little child to try to get love from your mom and dad? Because when you find what things you did to try to get love, you're still doing them. You're still doing them. And you need to really look at, is that actually working for me? Okay. Now, step 3 is, of course, the process of once you become familiar with, once you become aware of, consciously aware of the pattern, then you have to get to work. And usually you're going to need to work with a coach like me or someone who knows how to do this inner work and clearing out those old patterns, those negative attraction patterns, so that you can finally start attracting and being attracted to men who are emotionally healthy. That nice guy that you just don't have any chemistry with. You clear this stuff out and you will feel chemistry with the nice guy. And then you're finally going to be able to get the love that you want. So, yeah. I really don't like the way this camera is working. I really think that there may be something wrong with my camera. It's not just the lighting. So hopefully for next week, I'm going to have probably a new camera because I really don't like this. I don't like the way it looks. And I'll just let you know for next week, expect to have me live streaming again next week. Thursday, I'm going to try to keep it at 5 o'clock. I'm going to see how this goes. If you have any questions, I'm going to put some information underneath this video where you can email me, send me your questions, your comments. If you have a specific question or a situation that's going on currently in your relationship and you would like to not only get my advice, want to say based on fact-based advice, in getting to what's going on with you energetically that is causing you to attract this kind of situation and what to do about it, as well as I may even pull some tarot cards. I may even give you a bit of an intuitive reading. But first, I'll probably want to answer the question in a more general way, in, so that anyone who's watching this um, can actually benefit from the advice. And then I will actually give you my intuitive advice as well, if you are wanting that. So I will put information again underneath this live stream. And hopefully I will see you next week at the same time, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, my name is Dawn Priolet, and I will see you then. Ciao for now.